Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, or indeed welcome to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much for joining me today for another My Week in Books. Firstly, let me just say thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed to this channel this week. A couple of days ago, I did hit 250 subscribers, which is really, really exciting. So thank you so much everyone who watches these, who comments, who likes them, who subscribes. Thank you so much. So glad to have you here. Do keep talking to me in the comments and let me know what you think about what I've been reading. I should think of something for us to do as a bit of a subscriber celebration. If you've got any ideas, pop them down below as well. But thank you so much for subscribing and being here with me. I just want to remind you that this week I was on Book Jeopardy over on Alan's channel at the Library of Alexandria. Thank you, Alan, so much for having me. Thank you for writing the questions and being such a good host. And thank you also to Charmaine and Sarah for playing as well. Great fun, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on, everyone, and it's been great fun. Go check out that if you have not seen it yet. No spoilers for how that went. Other than that, let's jump into the books I have been reading this week. Unfortunately, not the greatest reading week for me, as I was actually ill for a few days of it, but I did manage to finish off a couple of books, so not too bad all in all. So let's jump into the first of those, which is by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this is Empire in Black and Gold. This is a book I've been reading for the last couple of weeks, and it is the first book in the Shadows of the Apt series. I really enjoyed this book. I think it was a very good first book in the series. It has set me up to want to keep reading more, and that's really what a first book's got to do. It's got to keep you interested, and it's got to make you think, I want to read more. So yeah, absolutely achieved that, done very nicely. Empire in Black and Gold is a book following Stenwald Maker, who is a aging spy master, and it's following people that he has essentially recruited or brought into the fold to work as intelligence agents for him. He works at a college and has been recruiting over the years, and his main aim is to try and stop, or at least prepare his city for a coming war with an expanding empire from the east that is coming to, it looks like, to subjugate and enslave their population. However, the people around him don't seem to take this threat seriously at all. And we follow Stenwald and his crew. It's quite a diverse crew as they try and work out what's going on, try and prevent a war, or at least prepare their cities for this war that may well be coming. I thought it was done very well. I really like Adrian Tchaikovsky's writing. This was his debut, so it wasn't quite as polished as some of his later stuff, but I do really enjoy the magical concept that we have here. So there are a bunch of different sort of races of humans in this, all who have sort of an insect that they have in their past as part of their heritage. I heard Dominish refer to them as totem creatures, and I think that's quite an interesting way of thinking about it. And so they have certain aspects they can manifest from this shared ancestor. So we've got the beetles, and we've got the wasps and the mantis and the spiders, and they all have different things they can do that they don't really consider magic. It's just something that they can do because of this shared ancestor, and I think that's quite an interesting way of going about it. I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was executed pretty well. All in all, this was definitely a book I enjoyed. I would recommend it to people. We'll definitely be continuing on with the series, and it got a solid 4 stars from me. And then the next book I carried over from last week and finished was Guards, Guards by Terry Pratchett. What can I say about this book, other than I really, really enjoyed it? I have read 2 other Discworld books by Terry Pratchett. They were Mort and Reaper Man, so both in the Death subseries. And although I enjoyed them, I felt like they kind of outstayed their welcome a little bit. Like, I really loved them at the start, and then they kind of got a little meandering for me, which I know is a bit of heresy to say, but there we go. Guards, however, didn't suffer from that anywhere near as much. The first scene really grabbed me, was hilarious, very much Monty Python in my head. And throughout the book, I just really enjoyed it. I think the characters were much more gripping for me than the characters we had in the Death subseries. In the Death series, Death was the interesting character, but most of the time we didn't spend with Death. We spent with other people doing other things. Whereas here in the City Watch sub-series in Guards, we followed Vimes, who I love. Captain Vimes, very interesting character. I like the way he grows throughout this. And then we follow Colon and Nobby, who are also members of the Guard, members of the Night Watch. But then we have Carrot, who is a new recruit. He's come from outside of Ankh-Morpork to come and join the Watch. He sees it as a noble and a good profession, which no one else does. But he is a very interesting character in that he wants to do things right. He wants to do things by the book. And I think that's amazing in contrast to Colon and Nobby. I mean, even Vimes a bit at the start. I mean, I think that's just done so well. I really love Carrot. He might be my favourite of the rank here. Just absolutely love Carrot. I think he's brilliant and he's a very good straight man. If really naive. I do think that this had much more of a plot to it than some of the other Discworld books I've read, and that is what kept it from that meandering feel, like we weren't going anywhere. I felt much more like it was going somewhere. It had somewhere to go and something to achieve in the plot, and the characters worked with that, and it was funny around that, and the characters progressed as the plot progressed, and it felt much more targeted, and I really liked that, as well as some of the side characters we get. The librarian is always funny, and I like Sybil as well. I think she's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how her and Vimes and the rest of the Watch grow throughout this sub-series. This was a solid 4.5 star read for me. It only lost the half star because it still had a little bit of meandering in the middle, but not enough that it's a real problem at all, and will definitely be carrying on with Men at Arms. I think I will definitely be going with the City Watch before I continue with other bits of Discworld. So yeah, all in all, a really great book. I can see why people love it so much, and yeah, really enjoyed it. So that was great. Now, both of these books I only finished last night, so I've not actually kicked on with too much more reading other than finishing those two. I have, however, read one short story, or it might be a novelette. It's probably long enough to be a novelette. And this is by Sebastian de Castell. And this is Dance of the Chamberlain. So this is a Greatcoats novelette set after book 4, Tyrant's Throne of the Greatcoats. So I would very much recommend not reading this or the other novelette until you've read the main series, because it does there are things going on that happen at the end of Tyrant's Throne, and I think that's really important that you've read that and you don't want any spoilers at all. I really like this. I like the new Greatcoat we're introduced to. He is the King's Crucible. I like how he's developed and how we understand him a bit. In many ways, it's very much like a Poirot book set in the Greatcoats world, which is a bit odd in terms of a description, but it very much feels like a mystery, even to the point where you're locking people in the room and saying, aha, I know who the murderer is. So I very much like that take on a story set in the Greatcoats world, set in Tristia. And for a short story, 40-50 pages, great fun, really liked it, fast paced, read it in an hour, and just really enjoyed it. So yeah, a really great little palate cleanser before I jump into what I'm going to read next. So I know next week on audio I'm going to be reading Blood Rights by Jim Butcher. That's book 6 of the Dresden Files. You will know by now, if you've been here a while, that I love the Dresden Files. This is like my 5th or 6th reread, but love Blood Rights. It's definitely not my favourite Dresden Files book, but there is some big things that happen in it that I think are great. Some great side character development as well. So I'm going to be enjoying re-listening to that. And then as well as that, I'm going to be picking up another book to read physically, and I'm not reading it on my Kindle. I'm actually going to read it in a real actual book for once, and you might have noticed it already. It's up here, and that is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I have got the whole Licanius trilogy up there, all 3 of them, and it is very much something I don't know very much about. I have heard good things. I've heard it reference to something that's a bit like The Wheel of Time, which is a bit mental, I think, to say about a 3-book series, but I'm very interested to find out more about it. I've heard good things, even if I don't know much about it. So tune in next week to see what is going on with that, if I can tell you a little bit more about what's going on. And hopefully, it'll be something I enjoy. And hopefully, since I've got all 3 of them, it'll be something I enjoy enough to keep reading. Thank you so much. Like I said, if you are a new subscriber, if you're not a subscriber, click that subscribe button. Yeah, make sure you know what's coming on my channel next and you can be following along. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon.